Today I'm covering how to determine if you have a seized brake caliper. Specifically, a condition where the caliper is seized on, so the car feels like it's always braking, as opposed to it being seized open, where it doesn't brake. For the most part, you're not going to be able to visually determine if you have a stuck caliper. There are a few signs that you may have a stuck caliper, and then there are a few tests you can perform, and that's the best way to diagnose one. The first and most obvious thing is something I can't display in the video, which is the smell of burning brakes. If you're using your brakes normally, flat ground, normal traffic, you're not riding them down a hill or something like that, and you get that smell of burning brakes, chances are your pad is contacting your rotor, there's a problem, and you should investigate further. The other sign is also a little tough to display, but really easy to describe in that your car doesn't want to roll. For example, maybe you try to accelerate and it feels like there's a lot of resistance. The engine's running fine, you hit the gas, and for some reason the car isn't accelerating like it should be. It feels like there's resistance or it feels like you're stuck. Chances are you could have a stuck caliper. The other way it might show itself is that if you're at a stoplight on flat ground and you let your foot off the brake and don't hit the gas and the car doesn't start rolling like it should, chances are you could have a stuck caliper. The chance of the previously mentioned symptoms happening at the start of your drive are slim. It's not impossible, nothing's impossible, but the likely scenario is that you can leave your house fine and as you're driving around, you start to notice these symptoms. Smell of burning brakes, that resistance when you're accelerating, things like that. So these couple of tests that you can do are things that you can do on the side of the road, or if you can limp the car home or you need a tow home, you can do it back in your driveway to help determine if you have a stuck caliper or not. The best and easiest roadside test for you to do is to take the back of your hand, place it against your wheel, and see how hot it is. If it's too hot to touch, you've definitely got an issue. It's not a bad idea to walk around and check all four wheels. The chances of you having more than one stuck caliper is pretty slim, but it's possible. But if you feel that those other wheels are cooler, then you've definitely got an issue with that one, and you can really pinpoint it that way. If you're looking to be more precise than just placing your hand on the wheel, you can use an infrared thermometer to get an exact temperature of each wheel. I highly doubt you have one of these sitting in your glove box though, so it's not really something you're going to do on the side of the road, and it's more something you're going to do when you get the car back home. There's not an exact temperature that wheels are going to be. It's highly dependent on the ambient temperature and what's going on with the caliper itself. If that caliper is locked up and you drove on it for a few miles, the wheel's going to be really hot. If the caliper's not locked up and you were just doing normal driving, it's going to be a little warmer than ambient temperature. With the more common symptoms and exact tests out of the way, I do want to talk about the experience on my car and the visual items that were kind of a sign as well. Again, it was really hot. The caliper was locked up bad. I tried to limp the car home, so this is an extreme case, but it might be able to help you, so I want to include it. The rotors have really bad glazing, which by itself isn't a sign of a seized caliper. It's just a sign of your pads being overheated. But if you check the other side and it doesn't look like this, or if you have those symptoms I mentioned earlier, this can be a visual check to further lead you down the path of a possibly seized caliper. In addition to that, the center cap got so hot that it actually deformed and it no longer fits in the wheel. I've had stuck calipers before, but I've never had a center cap start to melt on me, but I think that's because of how hot it was outside and trying to limp the car home. I actually didn't realize that the center cap was a problem at first. After the car had cooled down later in the day, I took it for a drive around some local streets to try to get the caliper to lock up again, and I turned around in this parking lot, and the center cap fell out of the wheel. So if I hadn't done that and then found it in the parking lot, I probably would have never known and it would have just lost it on the road somewhere. Well, that's about the best way I can explain a stuck caliper over a video, especially in a non-invasive way, on the side of the road or in your driveway, something like that, without disassembling the whole car to inspect anything. If you do have a stuck brake caliper, the next video I'll be posting is how to replace it. I will be working on the Ford Escape, so that will be the focus of the video, but even if you don't drive one, be sure to check it out. Most standard cars have a pretty similar disc brake setup across the board, so it'll give you an idea if you even want to get into replacing it yourself, or if you'd rather bring this to a shop. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Hopefully you're watching this in your garage or driveway and you're not stuck on the side of the road somewhere trying to diagnose your car. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and don't forget to subscribe.